And your design team, or your coaches, we're going to call them for today, have been very busy figuring out this kickoff. And we got talking about what would be the concept that we could kind of draw on as we develop protocols. We actually landed on an analogy of a football game, and none of us are football fans on the design team, so it's a bit of a stretch at first, and now it just keeps making sense. We keep coming up with more and more football analogies. But the idea is that we've got this football at one end of the field that we're kicking off today. And our focus as a design team has been around this kickoff, and recognizing that we don't know what every play looks like as we work our way up the field in this game. But at the end, we've got those goalposts, and we got to cross that line by the end of December. So we'll talk a little bit more about timelines as we go along in the next couple of days. But we really have been planning about this first play and how we're going to kick the ball. And over the course of the next couple of days, you'll all have a chance to kind of implement what the next few plays look like. So I'm going to ask the coaches, the hosts and the harvesters, if they can just stand up for a minute, just so people know who you are. We thought about team jerseys, but we didn't have money for that. So the people that are standing now are all folks that have been helping plan the 2 days, and we also have a steering committee that's been working in the background to support this work. Are there any members of the steering committee here? Just stand up if you're on the steering committee. Some of the same, so we've got some good crossover. And the role of the steering committee is to sort of support this work on behalf of the public health system leadership team, and connect and communicate what's going on in the development of the protocols, and they've been doing some of that along the way. So I think it's safe to say that as a team of coaches, and thinking about this kickoff, we've designed this as a way of kind of getting things going, and that's really going to be our theme for today. And we're going to spend some time collectively, you as the team that's been drafted to play in this game with us. We have special teams that are all set up and ready to go. I think you all know what your teams are that you're on. We're going to spend some time today learning the playbook. And we're going to hear a little bit more this morning about our team philosophy when Janet sort of introduces us to some of the history and some of the context around this work developing protocols. But this is a big game, and we got to try to figure this out. And so we have Brent Malofny, who will join us a little bit later, and he's going to do some orientation to a framework that we're going to use that will kind of guide our work as we go along the way. Tomorrow, we'll get into more what those first few plays moving up the field look like. Now my clipboard's in my way. So, the theme of today, as I mentioned, is getting into it. And keep in mind that we're a new group. And as a new group, we're all at different levels of understanding. We've all got some different experiences. Some of us have been really involved in the protocol work over the last little while, and in developing that framework and in designing it. And a number of people that sit on the teams are wearing multiple hats here. But some people are a little bit newer, and some people are sort of from within the public health system. We do actually have some folks that sort of interact with us and play important roles outside the formal public health system. So there'll probably be some bumps along the way, and some time for us to kind of get our heads around this work together. And as we bump along, we're going to move into this idea of needing to stick with it. So there's probably going to be some tensions that we'll talk about a little bit later. And as you're working with your teams, you're going to have to figure it out. But we really encourage you to stick with that tension and sort of the unknowns. And eventually we know we're going to get through that, and we'll start to get on with it. So I mentioned earlier, we're sort of viewing this as a really important or pivotal time in public health. So the fact that we're all here together today, we really do see this as a pivotal point in public health. We do see this as a big game. And we recognize that it's not all going to be perfect, that we're going to make some mistakes as we go along the way and learn as we go. And we just really need to be, I guess, comfortable and open to that. We also, sort of as a team, want to generate a philosophy, or I don't want to call it a code of conduct, I think that's too strong, but a culture in this room, and a culture of working with each other. as one big team, and as we're off with our special teams doing some planning over the next couple of days. And we would really ask that in order to generate the deep discussion, really good conversations that we need to have about this work, and to really get our heads into it and really understand what it is we're trying to achieve, and the playbook that we mentioned earlier that we're going to go over later today. It's really helpful if folks spend a lot of time paying attention to how you are together. And it's important that when you're in your groups that you're listening to understand, and when you're speaking that you speak with intention, and that you're very conscious of the impact that you have in your group. And it's okay to speak up if you don't agree with something. That's absolutely fine. We need those conversations to happen. We just need people to have them in a respectful and good way. And we're not worried about that happening with this team. I don't think you would have been selected to play this game if people were concerned about that. I think there's also some tensions that will be present in this work, and we spent a lot of time as a design team thinking about some of those things. And we've talked a lot about sort of this tension between people really wanting that clarity, being able just to kind of run with things, and the chaos that might happen a little bit on the field if we drop the ball or there's an interception or something. We're going to be a little scrambled, and that's okay too. And just by recognizing that those things exist and that those tensions are out there, it'll help us work through it. We also know that there's going to be some tension between the old and new. So as we start to really carve a path in the future for public health, looking at the protocols and what the expectations of public health are, starting to craft what the work is, there may be a need to let go of some of that old and step into the new. And there may be an opportunity to carry some of that old into the new. And so there's probably going to be some tensions present there around that as well. And I think the other aspect, or another area where we may see some tension is, some of us have a strong desire to really reflect and analyze and sort of be in our heads thinking about stuff. And there's probably others that just want to get on the field and get the ball moving and rush our way down. And that's okay to have that mixture in the teams. But again, recognizing that that may cause a bit of tension within the teams and just respecting that. So as we go along, we really encourage you to, if those tensions or other tensions appear, that you name them in your group, spend some time talking about it, not get stuck or bogged down in it, and find your way to move forward through it. So a little note about our harvesters. You can see Rita's already got a camera out. Somewhere in the room there's a video camera. We are going to be doing some videoing and taking some photos. We're really making an effort today to capture what's going on, the essence of what's going on, and share it with the rest of the system. So there's a group of people that are going to try to broadcast some of this game and some of the highlights of it so that people can go and know in our public health system what's going on and what's unfolding. So as we go through, we're really fortunate. We have 500 plus emails. As of sort of yesterday, it's all the contacts of everybody that works in public health. I'm not sure we've ever had that assembled in one place before. And we have an opportunity to send out some sort of tweet-like emails to people to let them know what's going on. There is also a Twitter feed that's been set up, and you can see the address for the Twitter users. It's up around the room. We would encourage you to link up with that and follow along. Hashtag, thank you. I don't know what it's called, I don't use Twitter. I know, I'm afraid to admit it. Today might be the first day, right? So we are going to be broadcasting this. If you have issues with appearing in a photo and having it posted later on a website, or having video of yourself, we would encourage you just to identify yourself to either Rita or Holly, because I'm pointing those out, and Lindsay. So the three people right here. And just let them know. And I would also suggest that if you're worried about being videotaped, you might not want to sit on the side of the room where somebody's being, you don't want to be in the background or something. So just really quickly around our agenda. So a little bit, in a few minutes, we're going to do some introductions and have a chance to do a bit of a check-in. Janet's going to spend some time speaking about the context and some of the history and really framing up what the protocols work is all about, how it fits in public health research. We're going to spend about an hour and a half with Brent this morning. He's going to join us by phone, and he's going to sort of give us an overview of the framework that we're using, the playbook that I mentioned earlier. And we'll have an opportunity to gain some understanding, talk about that in our teams, and really dig deep into what that framework's about and raise some questions and some ideas about it in your teams. And we'll finish up. We're hoping to be done between 4 and 4:30 today. Tomorrow morning we start promptly at 8:30, so it's not a arrive at 8:30 for a 9 o'clock start. We're starting at 8:30. And we'll have some chance tomorrow to kind of really get into more of the details. So we'll hear a bit about the expectations of the teams and the work that you're doing and some of the more specific timelines that we're looking at, some of the key plays that we know we need to make. And then we'll have an opportunity for teams to spend a good amount of time together sort of discussing some of the things that we know are important when we want to work together in teams, and an opportunity to plan a little bit more deeply around how you want to go forward with this over the next little while. And so our overall purpose for today is to really understand the context of this work, the framework that we're using, and sort of generally get our heads around the journey that we have, and very generally knowing that there's some key points as we move up the field. And tomorrow the details of that will start to form within your teams a little bit more. So I'm just going to look to the other coaches. Have I missed anything? Awesome. So we're going to do a check-in, and the way that we're going to do